We've had so far two very intense sessions, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate you all coming back for part three. Part two, we finished with this slide last month, which says essentially that we need a huge transformation, that we have overshot seven of the nine planetary boundaries. And the topic tonight is, what does transition look like? What what changes do we need at a local level, if you will? So the whole topic tonight is focused on local action or proposed local action. And what I propose to do is take the boundaries and use them as a filter to consider not global or national or even regional action so much. It's what we've been talking about the last two sessions, but tonight to look at local actions, in particular, uh, tying goals to climate action plans to repairing the chaos and the pain that we have caused in our on our planet. The transformations that, big picture transformations, we have to shift the way we use energy. Drill, baby, drill is exactly wrong. We need to move towards circular economy for production and consumption and towards zero waste. We need to build sustainable cities and communities and add resilience measures into our cities. And we need to transform the way we basically do the core things that humans do, eat and use land and use water. So this is the big picture. And how are we going to do that? Well, I would like to propose that every community, wherever you live, form an environmental commission. The core idea here is we've got to get citizen involvement and awareness. Phil is on the call on the session tonight, and Phil was fond of telling me during the election that there was a poll uh, looking at or asking people what they were voting on. And there was one particular poll, there were 22 items, and climate was 21 of 22 in interest. I think he said the only lower was transgender as an issue for voting. We've got to bring people to a place of awareness in understanding and a sense of urgency. And that comes first with an environmental commission that is empowered by the city or a county or whichever entity to support thinking about climate action and proposing appropriate actions to the city council or to the local government. First thing the commission should do is declare a climate emergency. Every city should declare one. We have clearly, as we've seen the last 2 months, uh, code red condition for humanity. So we need to understand the urgency, declare it, write some serious whereas clauses in the emergency document that basically indicate what the items are that we're going to be working on. And this community, the Environmental Commission needs to also bring the community to the table, that bring their friends and family to commission meetings. Uh, my my take here is that one of the first and most urgent things for the commissioners to do, is to educate themselves. If they understand, fine. If they have opportunities to learn more, and I think we all do, that's what we should do. In Vista, where I live, I participated in a city training about city government some couple of years ago. And one of the things we did was get in a bus and tour the city with the city manager and elected officials explaining and demonstrating what the state of the city is. I think it would be wonderful for people to understand the state of their community. You know, where does water come from? How does it get to your home? And all the other many things that go on in a city. So being physically aware and being educated about the science is crucial. And the commission must also, in my view, and this is really, really important, make available uh, or facilitate making available information about the performance of the city and climate. We need environmental dashboard or dashboards that work not only on the on a laptop or computer, but also a cell phone app. We got to drive people to a place of awareness and constant understanding of the state of things. And with that understanding, I think we'll generate action. Short of substantial citizen involvement and voter concern, I suspect there's very little chance we'll get very far very fast. So what does citizen participation look like? Once we've informed ourselves and we have a commission and we have people coming to meetings on a regular basis and sharing their views, we have available right now a whole series of tools. I've read a lot of caps, I've edited some, and I have not seen any yet use this set of tools. And I'd just like to highlight a few of them. American Forests has some wonderful information about tree equity around every city in the country. And I want to focus on, and I'll say more about Nature Quant, Climate Trace, and Alert California here in just a moment. These are all three very powerful tools. RMI has a tool called Waste Map that identifies things like methane emissions from landfills. NOAA has a powerful set of information that they call the Climate Ready Nation with local action, local information. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals has information in a data hub. Uh, an organization called Tree Plotter there's a tool called treecanopy.us, and it describes the percent of tree canopy across the entire country, certainly in all the urban areas and all the census blocks. We need measurable goals, reporting, and remediation when we're not pulling it off. But let's look at some of these tools a little more deeply. This is a snapshot of Vista. You can enter any city in the country with for Nature Quant, and if you know Vista at all, across the top here is Highway 76 running east-west and Highway 78 running east-west through the center of Vista. And you can see there's a scale here from deficient to great in terms of uh, nature canopy. It's not just trees, it also includes other greenery and the like. And this is on a scale of 1 to 100. And this block that I highlighted, or that's highlighted by the tool in the center of the screen, is an area of Vista that has a score of 2.6 on a scale of 100. Now, I propose to you that's rather pathetic. And any urban planner, anybody working on the environmental commission or city councilor or citizen should be pounding the table saying, come on, dudes, let's fix this. And one of the powerful things about Nature Quant is that their research indicates that a 15% increase in score increases life expectancy by 1 year. So if we could, let's say, add 60% or 60 to the score and get it to 62.6, we'd increase the average life expectancy, the mean life expectancy in this area by 4 years, or 75% by 5 years. So we have an enormous opportunity, not only to work on climate, but to increase our health and uh, our longevity and our basically happiness in life. I do not understand why every city, every cap isn't pounding, isn't saying, come on, really, really need to do this. Use tools like Nature Quant, figure out what this means, and plant some greenery. This is an image of another dashboard. This specifically is from Oberlin, Ohio. We've had a presentation at NCCCA probably a year or so ago now, maybe more, from the architect of this, a professor at Oberlin College. And this is an outline of Oberlin, and it has real-time uh, energy use, water use data, water quality data and the like is on the right panel here. And I'll just give you this is a little squirrel or beaver, squirrel, I guess, up here in the corner of the screen. This dashboard is in all the schools and displayed in restaurants and in shopping malls and in grocery stores around the city. And one day in the second grade class with their teacher was looking at the water flow, water usage in the school building, and this little squirrel character started dancing all over the place and was doing things that were unexpected. Researching that, no one understood what was happening. Researching that, they discovered the administration or maintenance people found that there was a water main break under the school. And of course, were able to repair it quickly. But the thing that's amazing to me is think about the impact of this second grade class seeing this dashboard and this bouncing squirrel in their classroom, finding a problem with water flow and having it fixed in their community. I predict that those students for the rest of their lives will be interested in water and energy use and water quality and air quality and so forth in their environment. What a beautiful experience and beautiful thing to do, to have that available. This just is the tip of the iceberg of the power of dashboards that we're not using. There are some static dashboards in some places. LA has one, San Diego City has one, but very little anywhere of real-time information flows like is implied here. This is another powerful side. Marion mentioned that, in fact, she and I and Carter, all three of us, attended the same 2018 climate reality training together with some others of our friends, Merrill and so forth. And Al Gore and the and Climate Reality and others put together this tool called Climate Trace. And what it does is look at and identify emissions by type, greenhouse gas emissions, CO2, methane, N2O, nitrous oxide, and so forth, as well as pollutants, PM 2.5, PFAS, and other pollutants for the entire planet. And what they discovered, this is just again, the tip of the iceberg, this is cumulative. In 2023, they measured, and they have a set of satellites and artificial intelligence tools that work with the data from the satellites. They discovered that we have 61 billion tons of CO2 emissions per year, or for the year of 2023, which is a higher number when they actually measured it than other agencies have calculated. But they've actually been able to figure it out. This scale down here actually ties to the kinds of emissions, and if you work with the Climate Trace tool, you will learn a great deal. Now, This is the climate trace for San Diego, most of San Diego County. You can see up on the top here, it's labeled in climate trace as the Tijuana urban area, the USA side. There's also a Mexico side, a different screen, of course. And it again identifies emissions. Here's the uh, index for this stuff on the left, and you can go and look and zero in on specific emitting sites. In fact, this tool identifies 660 million emitting sites on the whole planet. Now, our responsibility presumably would be San Diego County for most of us on the call anyway. Why don't we why aren't we zeroing in on all the bad actors and working with the citizens and the governments and so forth to go knock on the door of the bad actors and work to reduce emissions? This is an amazingly wonderful tool, and I haven't found a cap yet, again, that's using it. They've identified, as I said, these 600 plus million assets around the world with high impact possible reductions, and also that would reduce inequalities. If we uh, remove the worst actors or reduce the emissions from the worst actors. This tool is global. It has 9,000 urban areas on the planet that they've highlighted, like the one we just looked at in the big picture here in San Diego. They identify emissions for every square kilometer worldwide for buildings, where buildings are located, every square kilometer. If you've got a particularly bad acting building someplace, you can probably identify it with this tool. They're updating the data every month, and they're, in addition to the greenhouse gas emissions, they're identifying things like ammonia, PM2.5, volatile organic compounds, and other pollutants. So a powerful, powerful tool. It should be integral, in my view, to every climate action plan effort and team wherever you are on the planet. NOAA has built, as I mentioned earlier, a climate-ready nation, and they have a whole set of data that's about equity. Uh, they have a special set of information that is designed to meet local climate data needs. Uh, creating an enabling environment within NOAA. Now, I don't know with our new administration whether this has already been squashed or going to be squashed. Hopefully not. In any event, we should be using the NOAA tools if they're at all available. They look at and identify things like drought, flooding, heat waves, and important vital real-time action about things that we should be able to respond to. Uh, so just to summarize that, we need citizen involvement in a massive way, and we need to use the tools that are already available and push them into hands of citizens and make them and create awareness around the community. I think these are fundamental to any other action. San Diego's city was sued by the Climate Action Campaign, and the suit was settled when San Diego agreed to publish at least annually the progress on every goal in their climate action plan, and any goal that is falling behind in terms of being met, the city agreed that they would take remedial action, whatever that might look like, and might be negotiated. The core point here is the goals in the climate action plan should be legally binding. We need to pay attention to them and not just set goals and then ignore them. And I think Climate Action Campaign, did San Diego City and citizens a wonderful favor, and I would love to see that personally in every community, that the climate action plans that we write become legally binding and traceable, and make sure that citizens should be in a position to make sure that the actions promised are actually taken. Looking specifically then, shifting to the planetary boundaries, we'll zip through all of the boundaries and look at local action. And certainly we'll look at climate change, say a little bit about power and transportation and buildings and embedded carbon. This is a roadmap for part of where we're coming to. There are also huge opportunities for virtual power plants, canopied trails, transportation, city layout, super blocks. I'll explain that in a bit. This is sort of a roadmap of the next few slides. 15-minute cities and passive homes and design efficiencies and embedded carbon, which is rarely addressed, if ever, in a climate action plan. I've never seen it addressed. Here are some emission targets. You can read them at your leisure, but the key point is here that the percentages of emissions with respect to various energy components, transportation, food, and other factors like cement and landfills and wastewater and so forth are in this matrix. It identifies a map of the kinds of things we should be thinking about and where we should emphasize the actions in a local climate action plan. The way I think about energy is there's an unstoppable trend toward distributed energy resources through microgrids and virtual power plants and the like, and also integrating the Internet of Things on the internet, tying the infrastructure to all kinds of devices in life so that we can track what we're doing. And to the degree that we have distributed energy capabilities, a single failure is unlikely to bring down a whole community like the grid can do when it fails and the like. We have very little in California community solar. What we should. Community solar allows people, in particular in multi-tenant housing and renters, roughly half of the people in our community live in apartments or multi-tenant housing, and therefore don't have access to solar on the rooftop. Or if they did, if there were solar, very few homes have it, it would belong to the property owners and so forth. But community solar allows anyone to participate in a local microgrid or solar array arrangement. Just to highlight how dramatically different we are right now, in particular headed with our new administration, China is in the process of building what they are thinking of or have labeled the Solar Great Wall. As you probably know, North China has a ton of desert, lots of desert, and they have one particular stretch that's 250 miles long and 3 miles wide, and they're planning to put a solar array on that entire geography. This array, I don't know the numbers, but I'll bet it would meet a large fraction of the energy needs for the whole country, probably year round. It's just astonishing. We have nothing even remotely resembling that happening in our country. There's a new trend that I would highly recommend that CEA and San Diego Community Power and so forth connect with. It's AI-controlled microgrids. Now, think of a microgrid with being a solar array with batteries and some intelligence managing the structure. Vista, as a city, owns dozens of parking lots and buildings and so forth. They could put microgrids on every structure and basically and accommodate probably all of the city's power needs and then some with batteries, and could do it with no out-of-pocket costs if they used a power purchase agreement, which to me makes a lot of sense. And then this whole structure could be managed by a virtual power plant uh, from, let's say, CEA, the Clean Energy Alliance. If CEA had such a structure, whenever energy is needed in a high peak time, perhaps in the summer, instead of turning on an SDG&E backup gas peaker plant, they could the software could reach into the batteries with reserve energy in the microgrid and retrieve the energy and use the battery, the clean energy from the battery to meet the peak needs. So a city could do this at no out-of-pocket cost, reducing their energy costs over time, and also generate income when excess energy is retrieved from their batteries, or the need for extra energy is retrieved from the batteries. Poway School District said in their 20-year power purchase agreement that they signed for the whole school district, they will save $3 million. Now, I can't imagine that, imagine a school district with an extra $3 million just based on today's energy prices. That has to be a real bonus for the school district, and I'm sure there are many wonderful uses of that money that become available. To my way of thinking, everybody, every community should be doing this. All the school districts should be doing this. And when we add to it the AI control of the microgrids, a couple of the key results that happen from the control decision-making engine, if you will, from the artificial intelligence tools, is they reduce energy consumption and waste and distribution losses. And this um, oh gosh, sorry, trying to get this software to admit people. Well, anyway, um, we can reduce energy consumption by 10 to 20%, reduce energy waste by similar amounts, reduce the energy distribution cost losses by up to 30%, simply because of the control functions in the AI driven software. So a question I would put out, and I know Phil, and again picking on you, Phil, is very interested in public power, and Bill Powers, who did a presentation for us last year, has said we can probably have enough distributed energy to meet all the energy needs in San Diego City or perhaps any other city. Question I would ask that people working on an environmental commission's answer is how many square meters of solar panels are needed for energy self-sufficiency in the city so that we don't need to have SDG&E. Everybody would win if we built these kinds of distributed energy infrastructures. And I think it should be fundamental to our thinking and planning, get as close as we can to energy self-sufficiency and thereby reduce costs and integrate, microgrids from businesses and residences and the like also into the structure. Why not? Oh my computer. There it goes. Another thing that we should be thinking about is how we build buildings. I just tickled this vertical forest I think this one's being built in China or Philippines, but whatever, it doesn't matter where it is. It's possible to integrate vertical forests and wonderful balconies and so forth into our apartment buildings and homes, and I think we should be thinking in those terms. I'm not aware of any effort like this in San Diego County. There may be some, but I'm certainly not aware. And another initiative that we should absolutely support, it's exploding all over Europe, is balcony solar. Here are some solar arrays that are used on a balcony in Germany. There are more than 3 million balcony solar arrays in use in Germany. And the beauty of these is they're plug and play. You go to uh, the solar array seller and you bring it home and mount it on your balcony, whatever it may look like, plug it in, and you don't need any installers or anybody to do anything fancy. You just plug it, it's plug and play. And you can get a small battery and build reserve energy during the daytime while you might be at work or at least the sun is shining and the like. Uh, Great way to reduce energy need, uh, and energy usage and the like, uh, and to further move toward distributed energy. I'm not aware of any balcony solar in San Diego, maybe not in California. I think there might be some regulations that have to be adjusted to allow it, but we should absolutely be doing it. Another powerful trend that I ask you to all think about is we need to reduce the biggest source of emissions in San Diego County is transportation. And we need to reduce our transportation, have more active transportation, walking and cycling and the like. And we also need much more greenery. On the left side, we have what typically happens in a city, cross streets and you build a matrix of streets. They may not be as straight as that, but that's the gist of it. Some cities, they are straight. And the idea of a super block is to take one of these intersections, imagine this like a tic-tac-toe arrangement, and what you do is allow parking in all of the streets that were previously parking, but you block drive-through and you have to, if you, to get to a block, you have to drive around. If you wanted to get to the one on the right here, you'd have to drive around from the left if that's where you were, and the like. But in the intersections, what we can do is plant gardens and play areas for children, and community meeting spaces, benches, and the like, and green the community, invite people to live in the community and meet their neighbors and enjoy our fabulous weather most of the time. So I would ask every climate action plan team to think about super blocks, or you can take a smaller version of it. They're called mini blocks. Wouldn't be a 4x4 crossing, but maybe just 2x2 or something. Whatever, we would reduce traffic, increase greenery, and improve our health. What a wonderful thing to do. Another really important thing to do, especially as we heat our cities, is to plan for resilience. And one of the things that, I hear some people talking about is building cooling centers or setting up a cooling center, like a movie theater that's got AC and the like for high heat times. And that's a good thing. Nothing wrong with cooling centers, but there are simpler tools to help us with resilience. One thing to cool a city is to do shading, and you could take a major area like downtown Vista, where there's a lot of walking, possible and build many different kinds of covers that would cool the city and bring greenery into the area, or even just cloth covers to provide shading. Combine that in a heavy heat time with street watering, uh, just in emergency times. This can lower the temperature up to 4 degrees Fahrenheit, and combine those two with greening. If every increase in green canopy of 10% lowers temperature 2 degrees F, and reflectivity, uh, mirrors or reflective roofs, white painted roofs, whatever, lots of things we can do for reflectivity to increase albedo. A 20% increase in albedo lowers temperature 1 degree Fahrenheit. So if you combine these with shading and watering, the previous two slides, we can actually reduce the temperature in a city by roughly 6 degrees Fahrenheit. I mean, this is just incredibly valuable stuff to plan for extra heating. I would think Escondido, for example, would be, highly interested in this kind of stuff because it can get already very hot there, and clearly with the warming that's happening, it's going to get hotter everywhere. So let's have a plan for resilience and for cooling our environment. Shifting, I'd like to talk about buildings and what we can do here. One of my very, very favorite stories about building comes from Amory Lovins. He also did a presentation for us a couple of years ago, and Amory coined this word negawatts. And basically, what he's saying is with design efficiencies, if you don't have to provide energy to heat and cool, you can, instead of using megawatts, you just have no power, negawatts. This is a picture of Amory's home. He lives at 8,200 feet elevation in the Rockies. The temperature ranges from minus 60 to plus 80. And in his home, he has no heating or cooling system. And he's now in his 30-something banana crop grown inside his home. As you can see, he has solar panels. But the heating and cooling, the cost of all the heating and cooling ducts and infrastructure were offset by the cost of the insulation. Basically, it's more or less a wash using effectively passive house design, as it's called, passive house design techniques. And once you've built the home, you no longer need to heat and cool it. So you're saving a tremendous amount in energy costs, month to month and, year after year. And it's far more efficient for the environment. So we have huge opportunities on the table uh, with passive house designs. They're very popular and common in Europe. LEED designs also wonderful. California has Build It Green codes. We have REACH codes that help us perhaps in a local community uh, set standards that are more severe, more climate friendly, if you will, than the state laws. Singapore has another set of standards. There's lots of approaches here. In Singapore's, they're retrofitting nearly all of their existing buildings to be what they call Green Mark certified. And 80% of new buildings have super low energy certification. This is Singapore's approach. I'm not an expert in building standards and all that by any means, but it's crystal clear that we can do a whole lot better with these standards and than we have been doing. And I would argue this should be another part of the climate action plans. We should strengthen our REACH codes in every community. We should move toward uh, uh, producing as many megawatts as possible, making homes all electric, passive house or LEED designed, and those kinds of approaches. reduce embodied emissions, expand the EV infrastructure. Half of us, I said, are renters, and I know in Vista, uh, I would bet that there aren't but a handful, if that many, of EV charging facilities at any of the apartment complexes, maybe next to zero. I mean, it's really sad. So, huge opportunity to do better here. Reduced energy use, as we said, for heat and transportation, and zero emission standards should exist for new and replacement heating and water appliances and water heating appliances, cooking and the like. So we can write stronger reach codes. There's a whole process for doing that in California. Uh, there are green reach codes. This is again part of the California methods, if you will. Implement drought-ready models for a drought-ready model ordinance. We could do that. Allow dual plumbing systems. This is really valuable. In Australia, 30% now or more of the homes have dual plumbing. The second plumbing system takes gray water that used in showers and dishwashing and the like, and reuses it for gardening or toilet flushing and whatever, other uses that don't need the quality of water that we would want for drinking. There are almost no and perhaps no dual plumbing systems in California or San Diego, very few, if any. Again, a huge opportunity for water efficiency, especially could be built into our new construction codes and major rehab codes and the like. We could require Energy Star scores. The building or apartment is particularly energy efficient or not. It could help renters choose where to rent or where to live. It could help people, home buyers decide whether to buy the home or not based upon energy efficiency. Various insulation on the roof deck, white or green roofs, uh, immediate hot water heating so that we don't have hot water tanks that hold water and consume a lot of energy. Lots of other tools, landscape design for drought tolerant plants and native plants and the like. Um, low low water use appliances, composting toilets, and using recycled water and the like. All of these things could be researched and built into a powerful set of reach codes that would improve the energy efficiency of our buildings and our water efficiency. Another whole movement that started in France, wonderful set of books about this called 15-Minute Neighborhoods. The core idea is everybody should live within 15 minutes of active transportation, walking, cycling, of 90% of the things you have to do in life. If we did that, we'd obviously have to pass our neighbors as we're walking and build a stronger sense of community, but we'd also make a huge impact on transportation costs and the like. So these are some of the things that could be put into a 15-minute set of neighborhoods. One model here is to take every elementary school and make it the hub of a 15-minute neighborhood and to allow the school building to be used in the evenings for plays and community meetings and whatever, and block off streets with the superblock concept and allow people to enjoy being outdoors and walking around, in the evenings or weekends or whatever, enjoying their neighborhood and children and families and the like. Very powerful concept to let's organize our communities as 15 or 20-minute neighborhoods. This is a map. Again, this is from the Washington Post, is a map nationwide, a 15-minute city analysis. Uh, of course, picked on Vista again. And you can see the area that was identified here. I think it's this, it's over here. Oh, it's right here. Sorry, right here. This particular neighborhood, the average walking time for to community places like grocery stores and doctors and whatever and shops is 165 minutes. So you get to an eating establishment's 166, and to a store the same. To get to transport, this is like what, 3 hours, almost 3 hours to walk any place. So clearly, we are not organized in any way. And if you look at the browns here, these are relatively longer times. We're really not organized in any way to move in this to build a 15-minute city. But we have these wonderful 10-year plans, or 25-year plans, that cities work on. And I think in our plan updates, we should be asking how can we organize major pieces over time of our environment into 15-minute neighborhoods. Uh, Major, massive transformation implied in terms of benefits for the environment. We talked about the ocean acidification levels as being an issue for the planetary boundaries. I'm not aware of any cap that has addressed ocean acidification or the 30 by 30 projects. There are some underway in California and in San Diego County. We're trying to preserve 30% of our land by 2030. I think California is like 26% of the land, and 17 or 18% of the coast is now preserved. We have huge opportunities to, projects like Preserve Mission Bay, planting more seagrasses and uh, other plants in the ocean to reduce the impact of sea level rise. We have all kinds of sea level rise challenges right now. Carlsbad has a road that is going to be moved inland, probably because it's too close to the sea at high tide now. Of course, we've got the train at Del Mar that is on the cliffs and the bluffs, and very likely will cost us billions, tens of billions of dollars, perhaps, to reroute the train. And those are just a couple of examples. We've got a whole lot of issues right here, right now, and a lot of people are talking about them, but I don't think we have, in general, we're not doing all the things we could do, and CAPS could do, especially in our coastal communities. The ozone hole protects us from radiation and the like, and I'm not aware of any cap that pays attention to this, although you perhaps know San Diego, I think, has the sixth or seventh worst ozone uh, air quality in the country, of any city in the country. Uh, we're not really paying as much attention to our ozone challenges as we might. Uh, Biodiversity, looking at another of our planetary boundaries. Uh, we should be implementing California's nature-based solutions standard. It was approved, I think, in April of 2024. Uh, uh, it addresses expanded tree canopy. It addresses 7 kinds of land in the state, everywhere from deserts to urban settings to forests to chaparral and others. Uh, we should be tying our caps to the NBS standard that the state has now approved. We should install as many mini forests as possible. We'll look at those in just a moment. Should have, in my view, at least one in every schoolyard. And school districts should have climate action plans. Vista does, or is working on one, and we probably will have a submission to uh, the school board late this school year, in Vista for their cap for the school district. And we should establish no vehicular zones, especially around downtown areas where we've got the canopied walk areas or whatever. Um, and we should have a tree-covered Socolo, places where people can meet and enjoy their neighbors and talk and the like. And also community gardens. I would love to see an initiative that takes us to 50 by 50. Um, we're not at 30 by 30 yet, but Ed Wilson from Harvard, who's now passed away, wrote a book called Half Earth, arguing we need to reserve 50% of our land for non-human life forms. And I think that's a wonderful goal, land and oceans both. One of the things I would love to personally love to see in all of our climate action plans is a trail map. I lived for a while in Portland, Oregon, and this is a map of Forest Park. It has from end to end. It's inside the city limits. Inside, there's a 23-mile trail with lots of side trails. And it's, I think, the longest single trail inside a city in any city in the world. But my view simply is and I loved it. We used this often when I lived there, just fabulous place to go and walk for whatever time. Excuse me. One of the things I would love to see is that everyone live within a 10-minute walk of a canopied trail, covered trail that is mapped around the entire community. It would be a marvelous addition to cooling the city, to enjoying nature, to again meeting our friends, and sharing social time as well as just walking time. Um, I think every city should do something like that. I know parts of San Diego City are headed in that direction. Um, uh, Miyawaki Forest or mini forest is small. This is one that's being planted in this picture. The minimum size is 6 parking spaces roughly, and they can go to several acres and have tremendous benefits in terms of cooling. They're multi-tiered plants and trees. Um, they increase biodiversity. There's a whole process for building them. Uh, I think they, again, should be everywhere. Find a random piece of land in a city that's, at the intersection of several streets, and you've got, a triangle piece of land that's otherwise unusable. We should put a mini forest on it. These are highly popular in some countries. I know in the Netherlands, they are in every city and in most schools, and they have school students, middle school and high school students who are so-called forest rangers, who are responsible for watching the stability of the various uh, mini forests in their neighborhood, and get fabulous credit for their civic engagement. Wonderful stuff. We also, of course, need to be thinking about, especially today, wildfire mitigation. This was from an article in the LA Times, I think, in the last couple of weeks, where these authors two professors at UCLA said all wildfire fire mitigation efforts will be justified everywhere in the state, probably, and certainly other places. We need to explore advanced wildfire techniques using AI and drones to look to track fires, to upgrade utility infrastructure, undergrounding as much as makes sense, managing brush and controlling homeless encampments, all these issues, improve water quality, water resource management, strengthen building codes, and the like. One I would add here is a tool called Alert California. This comes from a set of researchers at UCSD. I had the joy of spending a day with them a few months ago, and they have 1,100 plus cameras scattered all around California looking for the starts of fires. They take images, use AI tools to look at the beginning of potential sparking of a fire. Over the past year plus, they have found over 1,000 fires that they've been able to stop by identifying them quickly and getting them put out before they became really big problems. So putting cameras in places, both urban and rural, or forested that can track the beginnings of fires and monitor them. And also in the large fire that we had in Northern California last summer, they brought some extra cameras and were able to highlight where the edges of the fires were for the firefighters to help them improve their effectiveness. So great tools to help if we deploy them and make sure that they're available everywhere. And one of our colleagues, Jim Crouch, has been building, growing oak trees, giving several thousand away every year. And he is offered to help us replace eucalyptus trees, which are fire prone and explode when they catch fire and are invasive and don't provide very much shade, with free oaks. He's offered to give them to the city, and perhaps you, if you want some. Uh, and the oak trees, apparently you water them for a couple of years, and then they just take off and grow by themselves. Jim tells the story of a home in Valley Center that burned down some months ago, and adjacent to the home was a big oak tree immediately adjacent to the garage. Neither the oak nor the garage burned down, but the home did. The oak tree had deep water roots and protected itself and the garage that it was shading. So, this is paying attention to the kinds of trees we have and where we have them, and using native plants rather than native trees and plants clearly is desirable thing to do. Climate action plans should integrate all of that. Let's talk about water for a bit. Fresh water. We need infrastructure to reuse water, to capture water. We should incentivize everybody to remove grass, to use rain barrels, encourage low flow appliances, implement green rooftops if they're not already covered by or being covered by solar, or combining them. We should be thinking about deploying permeable pavement. There are sections of LA that are doing this now, and also white roads that are reflective. We should be thinking about desalinization. Uh, you know, one of the things that we have a huge problem with, as I'm sure everybody here knows in California, is worries about water and the Colorado River. To my way of thinking, I think our local water districts and the San Diego County Water Authority should negotiate a transaction with Arizona, where Arizona pays us to, or pays for the construction of an additional desal plant, and we use that water here locally and thereby take less water of the Colorado River. So what Arizona would be getting is more Colorado River, and we also would water, and we would also get more water from the desal effort. There are projects like that that to me make a ton of sense, in terms of monitoring or in terms of water availability. We also need to monitor water quality and display quality measures on our dashboard. For example, do we have PFAS uh, in our water here in anywhere in the county or in your city? And other pollutants, we should know that and respond as needed. Um, I don't know whether you're all aware, but I think San Diego County, the last time I looked, has 14 dams. It was stunning. I was stunned to learn that we had that many in the county. Lake Hodges dam was built in, I think it was like 1906 or something like that, with a maximum 100-year lifespan. And the dam is now, far beyond its desirable lifetime, needs to be replaced. It may well be in the next decade or two, but last year we had those huge atmospheric rivers, and water flowed into the lake, and we had to let the water run off into the ocean simply because the dam was not safe, and there was concern about a dam break and huge damage in Rancho Santa Fe and the like. Uh, so our infrastructure, our dam infrastructure in the county probably needs, at least the Union Tribune says, more than $1 billion in maintenance. So we really have opportunities and need to pay much better attention to our water infrastructure. Core idea that I would recommend highly that we put into every community and every CAP is a plan to slow the movement of water. Every time we have a rainstorm, like we've been having, beaches close for a few days afterwards because the detritus from as the water flows into the ocean, that the water picks up on the way to the ocean, pollutes the water. Well, we should slow the movement of water from wherever it's landing on its way to the ocean or to back into the atmosphere. Forests retain 80% of the water from rains, and cities retain 20%. So this is another whole argument for the forest trails in Forest Park, like in Portland that we saw a moment ago, in all of our cities. This is a key driver of climate migration is water. If you don't have water, remember from our discussions last month, we talked about major uh, quantities of land in Texas and other places in our country being abandoned because there's no water. We should design our cities to retain the water, with receptacles, conservation measures, permeable pavement, green cover. We should get rid of lawns, replace stormwater pipes with vegetated drainage and dual plumbing, as we mentioned earlier, and desal deal with Arizona. We have massive opportunities to treat our water better. We should think about developing a sponge city. Uh, Perhaps you know that San Diego State is planning to build, I think it's 9 or 11 towers with 7,000 dormitory rooms for students on the mesa, or adjacent to the school. Some going to tear down some existing places, buildings, dormitory buildings, and add new upgraded ones and the like. And in reviewing the document from the San Diego State, I suggested that, I don't know whether they'll do this, that they build a big cistern underneath the uh, the mesa, in the mesa, so that we capture rainwater and have it available for possible use in fires or for uh, uh, gardening and the like, and trees and greenery around the campus, and basically become a water reuse and build an artificial aquifer. We could do that, and we have some artificial aquifers near Bakersfield, for example, in the farming areas where water is captured and stored. We could do that here. Probably should do it, I think. We should also explore putting solar on reservoirs. The Merkel Reservoir in Carlsbad could undoubtedly handle a solar array. The Olivenhain Reservoir that's up above Lake Hodges could also use solar. This is another part of the sadness of Lake Hodges. The Livenhain Reservoir, if water were pumped up to it and run down in the at peak times, it could provide the energy, I think, for something like 27,000 or 29,000 homes. But because of the deficiencies in the dam at Lake Hodges, we can't have enough water in there to take advantage of the generator that's already in place. So, this is again a big looking at our local water infrastructure and what we could be doing. We should be looking at developing water microgrids around the neighborhood, bringing fresh water, removing waste to repurify and recycle our water, monitor the equipment status, the leakage, water quality. Do you know that we lose 6 billion gallons of treated water every day from leakage? I mean, this is sad. We don't need to do that. Uh, Treat local water for potable and non-potable use and separate the two. San Francisco has a new law that says all large buildings must have on-site water recycling systems of the sort that we were just talking about a bit ago. Decentralized water could save up to 75% of water demand. Now, there's no doubt that as the planet heats, water will become more and more of a stress in all of the Southwest. Surely in San Diego, we already live in a desert. Uh, we should have major local and county-wide water projects of this sort, I believe. Gray water systems that allow water to be reused to plant trees and handle grass or whatever, greenery. We should have swales. I'm not aware of any swales in Vista. There may be some, but I don't know where they are personally. Every home should have a rain barrel, capturing rainwater for reuse, for gardens and the like. Land use. This is another one of our boundaries. Uh, Food and agriculture, of course, are really big issues, and we should encourage all farms to be regenerative. Marin County has a Marin Carbon Project wherein they're trying to get everyone to do regenerative farming. And I think we should do the same thing. And also with respect to food, there's a market in San Francisco that just tickles me. It's called the Free Food Market. It's in District 10, Community Market in San Francisco. And what happens is we have a lot of people there and here and everywhere that have food needs for food. And what happens in San Francisco is if you are qualified for food assistance, you get an ID that says you are, and then you can go into this market. Only people who are qualified can go in, and then you do your own shopping. You don't get a basket of whatever. You pick your own fresh veggies or food and the like. I think that's a wonderful idea. And Vista, I know, has lots of vacant space. And in fact, a couple of grocery stores that have left the community. One of those could be turned into a market for people who need food, and we could take all of the wonderful organizations that are providing food, have them stock the market, and allow people to choose their own food. But in general, caps really rarely address land use needs, in my experience. This is another whole opportunity to do vertical farming. This particular one is in Virginia, Richmond, and uses 30-foot towers to yield 4 million pounds of berries annually on less than 1 acre of land. It cuts water use by 90% and land use by 97% and doesn't use any pesticides. We could take vacant buildings now and build vertical farms of this sort and, get further use from the buildings to be sure, but transform our food capabilities. Uh, this should be could be an integral part of every climate action plan to take on projects of this sort. We've seen there are several regenerative farming films. Kiss the Ground, I highly recommend. We showed Common Ground last year, Biggest Little Farm, we showed a couple of years earlier. Uh, but I love these two quotes from John Berger in this particular book. They just knocked my socks off when I read them. John says, raising soil's organic matter 1.5% in all row crop fields would remove all the carbon added to the atmosphere since the Industrial Revolution and bring us to 290 parts per million from our current. By the way, we just hit 360, I guess it was. It was I think that's the number. Um, Sorry, I said 360. I mean, said it wrong. 430, I think, was the parts per million we just hit this week. 430. Um, you know, Raising soil's organic matter 1.5%. That's what Marin Carbon Project is all about. We could move in that direction. San Diego County has more farms than any other of the 3,000 counties in our country, albeit many of them are small, but we could certainly make our contribution here. And then John also says in the same area of his book, 1 metric ton per hectare application of compost would result in 1 metric ton increase in soil carbon year after year for between 30 and 100 years. So we'd be able to store a metric ton every year for 30 years, so 30 metric tons on 1 hectare of land. I was talking to the senior person at Solana Center, and she said, well, it's probably only 20 years. Well, whether it's 20, 30, or 100 is not a serious issue. We should be planning, and our caps should drive us toward working with farmers to increase the carbon storage in soil. Biogeochemical flows, this is nitrogen and phosphorus that we talked about. I'm not aware of any cap that addresses this big opportunity. Novel entities, I think it was Carlsbad that banned smoking. I say, yay, Carlsbad. Every city should do that. There's a huge opportunity to do more circular economy planning and implementation in our climate action plans. And we certainly should be paying attention in terms of in terms of novel entities. Every city should weigh in on the nuclear waste at San Onofre. Mike Levin has a task force that's been working on it. He's been working on this diligently for years. We should support him and try to get that nuclear waste moved. There's an initiative now in Washington. There are two organizations, one in West Texas and one in New Mexico, that proposes to take nuclear waste and bury it in those geographies. We should be tracking that, participating, arguing for it. I don't know whether those are the best places, but at least there are two that seem to be willing. Aerosols, EVs and active transportation help with aerosols. Reducing forest fires help. Uh, we think we have a network for monitoring air quality around the county, but we do have issues of ozone and smog challenges, and our CAPs should be tracking that and looking for measures to reduce the impact of aerosols. So if you think about the climate, the nine planetary boundaries, I know I went through this fairly quickly here, but there's a great deal of opportunity for more climate action work or planetary work, planetary boundaries work in terms of uh, the, uh, the local climate actions. I would love to see us argue for that and try to make these additional efforts happen. One other area that I think is so important that we are not paying attention to in our climate action plans, I've never seen one address it yet, is climate finance. Washington looks like they're going to kill the green bank that Biden started, which is really sad. But we can still build a public bank here in San Diego County. I think we should. I'll come to that in a moment. Cities should remove their cash from the top banks. Why? Because the top banks in the US and elsewhere are funding fossil fuel projects. Every one of the top six or eight US banks has backed out of the net zero banking alliance, which was banks committing to funding clean energy projects. All of our banks have backed out because of Washington and drill baby drill nonsense. We need to divest fossil projects. We've funded trillions of dollars of them. The top banks have, I should say. Every employee in every community should have an opportunity to invest in fossil-free retirement plans. I don't think that's common. And we should cancel insurance policies if companies, if the company that we have insurance with insures fossil projects. So some examples. Public bank I've mentioned, but more important probably than public bank here is, oh, sorry, I said that wrong. The green banks are going away. Public bank is an opportunity for, excuse me, a community to take its money, put it into a public bank instead of funding, say, Chase or Citibank or the large banks, and then have that money filtered through local credit unions to issue loans and to local businesses or to green projects. And then the proceeds from those loans come back to the public bank and then in turn are returned to the cities, excuse me, as um, unencumbered capital to do whatever the city wants to do with them. Um, the main place, if you're interested in this, I mean, it's legal in California now since 2019, but the main place in the world where, in the US anyway, where this is really a hot deal, a hot project, a prospect is North Dakota. North Dakota is getting a 21% return on state money for from their public bank network. There's state law in North Dakota that says all state money and city public money has to flow through the public bank system. Why we are not working toward building our own 20% return for the state and for our cities is mystifying to me. Uh, Other than somebody decided we should be funding the big banks instead, I think that's tragic. The public bank opportunity is massive, and they do require reserves. So, in order for us to have one in the county, we would have to have either Sandag or the county initiate the public bank, and then the cities and the county could, run their funds through it. But why not put our money to work for us, and the returns and gains on that money coming back to the community for whatever social purposes, whatever local good benefit the city councils decide on, or citizens decide on, and so forth. Uh, let's have our money work for us rather than the polluters, if you will. So, my view, every climate action plan said let's divest carbon-based investments that cities might be invested in now, place our cash in public banks, ensure employees have at least one climate-friendly option, join the public bank, and well, partner with the green bank may not be relevant anymore. These insurance companies fund provide insurance for LNG exports. If the city's invested in them, they should, buy insurance from companies that commit to not funding carbon or protecting carbon projects. Here's a summary of what we've just said in another way. We need to decarbonize our energy production and use, build sustainable communities, build sustainable production and consumption, and build sustainable forests, food, freshwater management, ocean management, and that's a nice summary and categories of things that could be, and should be in a climate action plan. Now, to summarize and close this whole discussion, the three sessions, I'd just like to close by saying that there are various versions of this picture, but I'll use the one from Donut Economics with Kate Rayworth, where Kate envisioned this diagram. She says, we have an ecological ceiling, the nine planetary boundaries. We have seen over the first two presentations that we have exceeded 7 of the 9 boundaries now, and we need to come back and live within the ecological carrying capacity of the planet. She also envisions that we have a social foundation for life. This is supported by, the health initiatives of the just blanked out the medical group in the UK, and many others. And so in her book, Donut Economics, Kate says that there are a series of social equity measures where we have shortfalls. We have hungry people, we have ill people, we have people who don't have enough water, and so forth. And in her book, she identified 24, I think it was, social measures. Earth for All, a book written by some of the scientists working on the boundaries, has identified 5 social measures. There are various versions of this, but whatever version we subscribe to, they're all worth considering. Lancet was the British group that I was thinking of a moment ago. We need to be living in the safe and just space for humanity and for all life within the ecological capacity of the planet, and with a solid social foundation. I love this image. This is the place we should be targeting, and we should be putting all of our effort in terms of social and ecological work into getting us within the donut, if you will. At least that's my view. And I would just close with this. Pope Francis says the crisis of planetary boundaries and so forth is such that we can't abandon our world. It's caused us to cry out and plead that we take another course of action. That's what these whole three presentations have been about, as far as I'm concerned. Many people will deny doing anything wrong because we're distracted. That's tragic. Whatever is fragile, like the environment, is defenseless in front of the interests of the deified market and the billionaires in Washington and in our government and all the greedy people. Pope Francis says it's time to take another course. I say, yes, let's take that other course together. That's our challenge. And I leave you with this question. We might have time to talk about it a little bit together. How can we create the collective energy and will, if you will, to live within the boundaries and to produce equity and justice for all life? What will create positive tipping points in moving us inside the donut? And I often think about uh, the discussions we had for decades and decades about same-sex marriage and the military, and it was illegal until one day President Obama stood up and said, it's legal in the military. And the world changed on a dime. But there was a lot of energy, people pushing for the change that we needed to make that happen. There's a threshold that we need to reach to come to our senses with respect to the capacity of our planet and the equitable treatment of all life. We need to reach that threshold, get enough people excited and interested in arguing and working toward this place of balance, and that's our job. So, question I've put out to you, having listened to these, is what do you think? How can we do that? I've listed at the end of the slides. We'll be happy to share the slides again with anybody who wants them. The references that used in putting all this together, some core references and some research references, especially around the planetary boundaries and the like. And uh, on February 26th of this month, of last month, rather, just a environmental commission had as their main topic, what should we have on our agenda for the next year or so? And I prepared this set of things based on this presentation that you've just seen tonight and the others that we've did the last 2 months. It's just here at the end of the notes. There's 18 items that I think should be, you know, the core things that an environmental commission should be working on, which is really what we just have been talking about. So it's just there for reference at the end of the slides if you're all interested.
Joe, thank you so much for all that incredible information. This probably was my favorite talk out of the threes because we were focused on solutions and action items. So I appreciate you doing that for us. And I did want to address some of the questions that are in chat, although we had a lot of going back and forth, and people actually already answered some of these. Marty had asked, what is a reach code? And down here, Jean Johnson gave a really good answer to that. And I just want to go over that in case anybody else was wondering. Let's see, was it Jean Johnson? Maybe not. Oh, here we go. Nancy did. Nancy said a reach code is a local building energy code that reaches beyond or exceeds the minimum requirements for energy use in building design and construction. And I wanted to add on to that, if that is a topic that you're interested in, is the building electrification. There's a really good active group here in San Diego called the San Diego Building Electrification Coalition. And they meet monthly to discuss these different issues and how we can increase electrification here. And then the question that Jean had, she wanted to know about the passive houses. And so she said, assume that there is an air circulation system. Will mortgage companies hold loans on houses without a heat or air system?
Well, they do have circulation, uh, air circulation systems as part of the requirement in the design.
Mhm.
I personally don't know about the insurance issues with respect to them. Perhaps our friends that you just mentioned, or uh, California Green Building Council could answer that question. Maybe somebody else knows. I've not run into, I don't know the answer.
I think that there's always a way around it. You could petition. I know that a few years ago there's a house that was built called Casa Aguia, and I was going to try to put that into the, I may have put it into the chat. And they did all sorts of wonderful, really neat things. They even had, they went beyond a gray water system, and I know that they had to reach out and get special permission. So I guess where there's a will, there's a way. So let's see here. Going down. Oh, and then Suzanne wanted to know what the best example of a 20-minute community is in the United States. And Carter was talking about the Pearl District in Portland. Carter, do you know about that? Have you been up there?
Yeah, well, I was up there. The Pearl District's kind of the predecessor to Eco Districts, which is now the predecessor to Just Communities. And most of it was rebuilt after the brewery blocks when Henry Weinhardt's left. And they have the whole community can walk everywhere. I mean, Portland is designed. Portland and Vista are opposites when it comes to design to walkability. Portland has a walkable block where Vista tried to prevent intersections as much as possible. So the
Yeah.
Pearl District was rebuilt. There are high rises, there's community parks, there's Powell's Books is on the edge of it, grocery stores, theaters, everything's all within walking distance. And then you can
And,
quickly get to Muni and their light rail, which I can't remember what it's called, Max.
Maxi,
That can get you to the airport. You can get to the Forest Park. So it's a great area, and there are many others. Beautify PB is working on making theirs more of a walkable area. Um, there's a ton of them, really. I mean,
Mhm.
not always all recognized, but
I think Portland is the one that was, I lived there for a while, and it's a fabulous city, just absolutely fabulous from this point of view. I think it was the first fully recognized 15-minute city in the country.
You know, what strikes me is we are acting like this is a new idea. When you think about it, almost every city in Europe is like a 15-minute city. You know, they have the plazas where you can meet, and everything is, and even New York City, because when I was there, I noticed that people kind of rarely went out of their own little neighborhoods. They could get the little shops and everything that they needed right there, and little parks and everything. So anyway, Suzanne, when we were talking about the green banks, she wanted to point out a beneficial state bank, which was the bank that our nonprofit uses now. And they are very eco-friendly and do not invest in fossil fuels or anything. So the only drawback with them is they're completely online. They don't have any buildings that you can actually go into anywhere in this area. But if you're looking to change banks for the reason of being more environmentally friendly, you might want to check into them. And then Nancy brought up something about New Mexico and not being willing to host the nuclear waste. And we had a discussion on that a few months ago. Do you remember, Joe?
Oh
The
gosh,
speaker.
yes.
Yeah. So that was a really good talk, very eye-opening to me. I had no idea about all that poisoning that went on in that area. But anyway, that's something we all have to keep our eyes on too and see where that goes. And let's see what else.
Well, one thing I might say about that, I attended a day-long workshop at UCSD about that topic a few months ago. And one of the ideas that was really intriguing to me was there are, as continents over geologic time have broken apart and come back together and so forth, there are some sections of land that have been above the ocean for at least 2 billion years and have never
Mhm.
been subducted. And there's one section of the US that runs from partly in Idaho and diagonally north into Montana. That is one of these pieces of land that has not been, uh, ever not been subducted in these several billion years. And a geologist at the presentation suggested that, that picking a piece of land like that somewhere on the planet might be most sensible because the lifetime of the problem we've got is massive.
Okay, the other question was about whether people can get a copy of these slides so they can share them.
Of course,
Okay.
I'll send them to you, Marion, and you can share them when
Yeah,
people.
right now I'm typing in the chat my contact information. So I would like to encourage you all to go ahead and reach out to me if you want the slides. And then I do the monthly newsletter, and so the next month's newsletter I will have a follow-up to this talk, and I will include a lot of the references and more that Joe was talking about. So let me just get that out to everybody really fast.
And I think within a couple of days, maximum, we will have the YouTube channel link to this presentation, and part one and part two are also available on YouTube now.
That's correct. And it's called the NCCA YouTube, just so you can find it easily. So, does anybody else have any questions or anything? Are we all good? Okay, well then I'm going to say goodbye to everybody and thank everybody again for joining us. And thank you, Carter. And we'll see you next month.